All right, B18. Where am I gonna write this? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Sorry you didn't see that. All right, so you have 1, 2, 3 groups of 5 with 3 left over. So B3 on the outside and a B3 on the inside. All right, and then 5 goes into 25 5 times, so I'm just going to write C5, and there's nothing left over because that one works out evenly. All right, let's look at problem 7 and 8. All right, 7 and 8 also say simplify. So we're doing the exact same thing. All right, 25 breaks down to 5 and 5. So you have a group of 5 that works out. It's a perfect root. This is a square root. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And 2 goes into 6 3 times. And you're done. Same thing with the fraction. It's a 4th root. So 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 goes into 16 4 times. You square root the top, square root the bottom. So those worked out evenly, so you don't have anything left over on the inside. All right, on this one, we're going to do the same thing. Square root of 49 is 7, and 2 doesn't break down, and you can't break down 2k, so that's all going to stay inside your square root. Now, we are going to rationalize this one. And so when you're rationalizing, when you have one term on the bottom, you multiply by that exact same term on the top and the bottom. It's a square root, so you need 2. And if you do it to the bottom, you have to multiply it to the top. So your final answer, don't overthink it. On the bottom, you do this so the square roots will go away. That's what rationalizing is. And then on the top, you just write 7 square root of 2k. Okay, so if you have a binomial, to get rid of the square root, you're going to multiply by the conjugate, which is the exact same thing, different sign. All right, so instead of 3 plus, I would do 3 minus. Now on the top, all you got to do is multiply. 3 times 5, or 5 times 3 is 15, and 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. All right, all I gotta do is multiply. On the bottom, because it's a conjugate, you just have to multiply the first and the last. So 3 times 3 is 9. A positive and a negative are gonna make a negative. 5 times 5 is 25, and then remember the roots are gonna go away. You're just left with x. All right, so that's called rationalizing the denominator. All right, you either have to do the conjugate or multiply by itself if it's a binomial. Alrighty. On the back, we've got negatives in our square root. And so remember, if you try to type this in your calculator, it's going to give you an error because it doesn't like that negative. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the negative, you're going to pull it out, you're going to put an I instead. And then once you take the I out, then you can try typing in your square root. All right, 9 over 16. And if it gives you a perfect root, right, so in this case it gave me 3 over 4, that's your answer. Your answer is 3 over 4i. No square root because it works out perfect. It's a perfect root. So you don't have to break it down. You have nothing left on the inside. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 16 is 4. And then the I just comes along with it. But see, if you were to try to type that in with a negative, negative 9 over 16, it's going to give you an error. So you've got to take that I out first. All right, same thing here on number 12. We're going to take the I out. All right, then we're going to try to type in the square root of 45. And it gives me a decimal, so that's no good. So I got to break it down. So 45 breaks down to 9 and 5, and 9 breaks down to 3 and 3. So I have a pair of 3s with a 5 left over. So your pair is going to go on the outside, the 5 is going to go back on the inside, and this I is also going to just come down and be on the outside with the 3. Okay, on number 13, I've got negative square root of negative 4. Negative comes out, turns into an I, and the other negative is just going to stay in the front. Then we're going to try to type in our square root. Square root of 4, which is 2. It works out nicely. So, because this one works out nicely, you don't have to break it down. You can just write negative 2i. That's your final answer. There's nothing left inside a square root because it works out perfectly. Okay, problem 14. It says solve the quadratic equation. So we are trying to get r by itself. To get rid of the square, you're going to square root. Every time you square root something, you have to put a plus minus sign.